Hey folks, it's Matt once again, and once again, if you're wondering why I'm looking here instead of the webcam, I want to look at the picture to make sure I'm in frame and make sure the video doesn't fuck up. But then to the movie The Quest from 1996, I wasn't thinking of reviewing this, maybe later down the road, but a few people wanted my thoughts on this film, and I don't know why. If you like the film, you enjoy the film, you love the film, you like the film alright, or you love the film to death, more power to you. I'm not going to make fun of anybody who likes the film. I'm going to disagree. I think this is a shitty film. I believe it was the last film Van Damme did. I think he had a 5-picture deal with Universal. And when I meant did, I meant the last film he did with Universal. At least in his 5-picture deal, because I believe it was Hard Target. But he had done some Universal films before. But I believe there was a 5-picture deal of Hard Target, Street Fighter, Time Cop, Sudden Death, and The Quest. I could absolutely be wrong. Because I remember Van Damme saying he was going to get another deal in the UK reality series that he had, Behind Closed Doors. He asked for too much money. He was coked out of his mind. He even admitted that. And he said he fucked up. So, no more. And quickly after that, he went to, I think, Sony, TriStar, because he was doing Double Team, Knockoff, films of that nature. And I know Frank Dukes had a big problem with this film. Him and Van Damme were friends, and this is the reason why they split apart. Frank Dukes, who of course, story of Frank Dukes was Bloodsport, if you believe Frank Dukes. Some people say he's full of shit. Frank Dukes said, hey, wait a minute, this is too much like Bloodsport. I'm going to sue you. Got in a lawsuit. Frank Dukes won enough to get a story by credit, story by Frank Dukes and Jean-Claude Van Damme, but I think there was a bigger lawsuit that Frank Dukes lost. And I don't think they're friends to this day because of this. In this film, I remember on the Street Fighter Rant, I'm like, has he ever done another PG-13 film? And then someone reminded me, yes, this is PG-13, and I completely forgot. This is one of those films that anytime I've watched it, I completely fucking forget it. Because it's that forgettable PG-13 crappy version of Bloodsport. That's really the tagline for this film. A shitty PG-13, pretentious, crappy horse piss of a version of Bloodsport. It's like, hey, instead of watching this, go watch Bloodsport. Go watch Lionheart. Two much better movies. Which is worse, this or Street Fighter? I'd rather just watch a good movie. I'd rather watch Lionheart again, Death Warrant again. And this was Jean-Claude Van Damme's directorial debut. I know there's a bit of trivia. Roger Moore co-stars, and he says this is the film he hates the most on his filmography, and he said that it was a production that was running out of money because it wasn't organized that well. And I think Peter McDonald, which is that the guy who did Rambo 3? Because I think he worked again with Van Damme in Legionnaire. I believe, I could be wrong, that might be the guy who was the director of Rambo 3. He was a second unit or something. I don't know, it says in trivia on IMDb, but doesn't mean it's altogether true, because like Wikipedia, you can always just put whatever the fuck you want in it. There's no features on the DVD anyway of The Quest. And it was 5 minutes in, because this is one of those films that's terrible. It's Van Damme, I swear, trying to do a very pretentious, epic movie. I think there was a documentary I'm making of back in the day where he was comparing it to Spartacus. Spartacus with islands. I'm sorry, Van Damme. I love you, man, but no one wants to see you in a Spartacus with islands. No one wants to see you in that kind of movie. I'm sorry. No one wants to see you in this pretentious, and this felt pretentious. Felt very Van Damme trying to be artsy-fartsy at times. Trying to be so epic, and it falls flat on its face. And it does remind me a lot of Bloodsport. I mean, even the beginning where you have different fighters and they're... It reminds me of Mortal Kombat as well. Where certain people at the beginning of the Mortal Kombat movie, which Van Damme was approached, and then someone told me that they heard that Van Damme said no to that because it was a PG-13, it was too much like Bloodsport. And I'm like, but you did this movie? What, did he look at the success of Mortal Kombat and go, oh shit, maybe I should have done that. Let me do it again, but I'll direct it. Or he was with his deal with Universal. For all I know, he couldn't do it because he was with his deal with Universal. I don't know the whole deal. There's no documentaries on any of these, so you never know. But it starts with people, different fighters. They get this note saying, hey, here's a tournament for this dragon made of solid gold to test your honor. It takes place in the 20s. It's a period piece film. Van Damme, you see him in America, and he's a clown, clown type of figure with stilts on, white makeup, a bright red nose makeup, tears, as if he's part of a damn gang. And he's the guy who the cops don't want around, and he fights a little bit of the cops, kicks a couple of them with the stilts, gets away very quickly. And the orphans, the homeless kids he's friends with, as if he's fucking Charlie Chaplin or something. And it was all so that one of the kids can steal this bag of money. Oh, we're rich. Bad guys come in. Oh, you gotta go, Van Damme. He goes, and decent stunt where the guy is on this bot's net going to the ship. People find him. He's a stowaway. I'm thinking, man, I just see Lionheart, where Van Damme escapes and becomes a stowaway. Just like fucking Lionheart. You know a movie's bad when it's affecting your fucking nose to itch it. I was ready to picked it through my fucking brain. But I don't need to do it because I've already forgotten the film anyway. I don't need to pick my brain in order to do it. But he's on the ship. And I will admit, there's some good production value. There was some money in this. Actual ships, some stuff exploding, you have pirates. Roger Moore and his buddy come in and see that Van Damme can fight. He doesn't do much, honestly, because he's chained up, but he fights a little bit. Roger Moore's impressed, come aboard, pretty much sells him on this Muay Thai island, where the guy who runs the island says, you gotta watch yourself at all times. And then it's months later, and Roger Moore and his buddy meet this girl who's a female reporter, which reminds me of Bloodsport, because he had a female reporter. I don't blame Frank Dukes for being, wait a minute, you got a female reporter, and then you have an American guy, this is played by James Remar, who's a boxer, and in a way, Donald Gibb, he wasn't technically a boxer, but he was more of a brawler guy, but he was an American that becomes friends with Van Damme and joins him with this tournament. Although James Remar doesn't go into the tournament, James Remar, just because of a 20-second bout where Van Damme hits him 2 times, James Remar runs away, then comes back and goes, I'm the champion, but I'm giving my belt to him. Because of a 20-second fight where Van Damme hit you 2 times? I didn't buy that. What the fuck? But I'm getting ahead of myself. But I can understand Frank Dukes going, wait a minute, this seems very familiar. It seems extremely familiar, Van Damme. You going on a tournament. And then I think Frank Dukes has something to do with Lionheart, because I swear I saw his name in the end credits of Lionheart, thanking Frank Dukes or something to that effect. I could absolutely positively be wrong. But then Roger Moore and his buddy and the female reporter go to this fight exhibition, and Van Damme's there, and the fights are awful. I think the fights are terrible, which surprises the hell out of me. Jean-Claude Van Damme directed this, but I believe he directed some of the fights in Kickboxer, and I'm sure he had a hand in helping his fights in other films. And he did a piss poor job, because there's not one single fight that is memorable in this movie. Not a single one. I can remember fights in Lionheart. I can remember fights in Bloodsport. I can remember the fight against Tom Poe in Kickboxer. I can remember fights in Death Warrant. But I cannot remember the fights in this. The only way I'm going to be able to help is because I just saw it. But if you ask me tomorrow, I won't be able to tell you. Even in a lie detector test, I would die. Tell me, or you fucking eat a bullet. I guess you better just feed me the bullet. You don't even have to shoot. I'll take the bullet, I'll swallow it. Shit out and swallow it again. Because I won't be able to tell you what the hell happened when it comes to this point tomorrow. When Van Damme fought this guy, wasn't much. A kick here, a kick there, that's it. And then, well, I'll wait till I get to the tournament portion. Van Damme gets to Roger Moore and his buddy and says, hey, wait a minute. You need to buy me back. You want to go to this island for this dragon made of solid gold, so that Van Damme can help get some money as well to go back to those kids in America. Roger Moore goes, okay. And we'll go with James Remar. And James Remar, I mean, he was in Mortal Kombat Annihilation, another crappy film. Which is better? I'd rather watch this, a good movie. And they did James Remar, the female reporter goes, and the female reporter is really useless. The only reason she's there, oh my god, how the hell did I forget this? I already, see, I tell you, I already forget. The very first scene of the movie is old-ass Jean-Claude Van Damme and pretty bad makeup. The type of bad makeup you would see on Guy Pearce and Prometheus. Really horrible makeup job. And then a voice that I don't even think is Van Damme. Doesn't sound like him. He goes into this bar and he gets a drink. Some guys come in and Van Damme's character does three things. Hits a guy with his cane. Does sort of the thing he does in Kickboxer where the guy has the drink and he slams the guy down headfirst to the table. Tells another guy to leave. And the guy's, how did you do that? And Van Damme's character starts telling the story. And at the last scene of the film, you go back to them, and there's a book called The Quest, written by that female reporter's name. That's the only reason she's in there. She doesn't become a love interest of Van Damme. Not really. And I'm not really. Not at all, to be honest. There's no reason she's there. No reason at all. It's like, well, we gotta have a woman in there somewhere, so just put her in there. Even though it's fucking pointless and offers nothing. James Remar honestly didn't need to be there, because he offers nothing either. I'll get to that, especially when we get in the third act. But in the middle, it's just, they go by carriage, it breaks down, they go by elephant, they get to the lost city of gold. No, that's Alan Quartermain. That's where James Remar, before that, had the 20-second fight with Van Damme. Because they're at a bar and they had confrontation with this Mongolian-looking motherfucker. Big guy. That hits James Remar and fucks up tables. And then after that, James Remar's like, hey, I know what you guys are going for. You guys aren't who you say you are. Get in that 20-second fight. Van Damme kicks his ass. Does like 2 kicks. James Remar leaves, and when they get to Lost City, he comes back and goes, hey, I give him my title. And then the elders say, if he loses, you will stay in the Lost City forever. And I'm thinking, why? Why would that be the penalty? You don't stay in this city forever. And I'm thinking, well, he's probably going to have to, I guess, as a slave? Even though this is a fight for honor, but you don't know. What the fuck is he don't? I don't know. I don't care. It's not a big deal. Actually, it is a big deal because the script sucks. But I would be okay if the fighting was good, and it's not even that. Because the fights are fucking pointless either. The fights, I know the fights in Bloodsport, they were not 10 minutes long or 15 minutes long. I understand that. But they were memorable. I remember Van Damme gut punching that big guy, doing splits, and yeah, nut shot. I remember the kickboxer guy was like, "Come on, hit my stomach, yeah, come on, just come on, yeah, come on," just kicking the shit out of each other. And Van Damme just having more strength and kicking the shit out of the kickboxer, whipping his ass. And the fact that this is PG-13 doesn't help either, because you get into fights, but you see no blood, you see no penalty for the fight scenes, no intensity, and also the way it's shot and lit. It's lit like everyone's glowing, like a fucking spaceship is above them, watching from. Remember Cheech and Chong's next movie, when Cheech and Chong, or really it was Cheech's cousin or whatever. It was Cheech and Marin, but he was playing a different character. And Tommy Chong are in the weed field, in the car, and there's an alien spaceship above, and it sucks them up. Which I love that movie. I'd rather watch that movie than this movie. That's what it looks like. Fucking spaceships above and just glowing. Okay? This isn't the Last Dragon. No one has the power of the glow. What the fuck is everyone lit like the... Ooh, because it's the Lost City and the Golden Dragon, so everyone's got lit like they're golden? Yeah, a golden nugget that you shit out of. The lighting was piss poor, and the angles, certain angles are just tilted and tilted. There's bad uses of slow-mo that are awkward. I'm like, why are you using the slow-mo at that point? Or why are you using it at this point? It was well used in other Van Damme films. Bloodsport, Kickboxer, Lionheart. Here, no. They were instantly forgettable. These people have fights and there's nothing to them. How the Mongolian guy fights the big sumo guy. They just go for each other. No, it's the sumo guy and another guy. Not the big Mongolian guy, but another guy. And they go at each other. Boom! And the guy falls to the ground. And the sumo guy wins. I mean, and the bad guy, there's nothing to him. You look at Bolo Yan, you see him break a guy's leg. And look at Tom Poe, and he paralyzed his brother. And kicking the shit out of Van Damme. Here, there's nothing to this villain guy. He's just a big guy. There's more to Attila and Lionheart than this guy. And the fights that Van Damme has, he fights a Spanish guy, and I can't remember who he fought. I think he had 4 fights total, Van Damme. And one, he just threw a couple elbows. Like, he took the guy out with an elbow. And another guy who, anytime this guy appeared, you'd have James Remar saying, "He's moving like an animal." "Oh, it's a snake. He's moving like a snake." "A monkey. Now he's moving like a monkey." Or I cut to the guy and James Remar go, "A tiger." I'm like, great. I'm glad you got James Remar, useless fucking character, so he can think that the audience are idiots. As if we can't fucking tell what's going on. If 2 plus 2 equals 4. No shit. And when Van Damme fights this guy who's doing these animals, if he was doing animals, that'd be a different movie. But he's mimicking these animals. Really, it's just Van Damme sweeping, the guy jumps over, the guy tries to tip, Van Damme gets away from his leg. And it ends with Van Damme just taking him down, grabbing his arm, holding it down, ready to punch him. Doesn't even punch him. So technically the guy didn't lose. I don't think he gave up. We just assume because that's when Roger Moore's buddy are taking the Golden Dragon. They get caught and arrested. And Van Damme says, "No, I will fight for them. If I win, you can keep your Golden Dragon, but they'll come out of the city with me." And, oh yeah, the first fight Van Damme has is a German guy. And not much to the German guy. The German guy hits him a couple times, punches him a couple times. I mean, like 2-3 times. Van Damme hits him a few times. Van Damme's down here, grabs his leg, puts his legs up, grabs the guy by the neck, grabs the guy's arm, and you hear a break sound, and the guy loses. Nothing memorable to these fights. Most of these fights are 10-20 seconds long. I'm serious. Most of them are 10-20 seconds long. Don't believe me? Time it. You watch it, and again, I know Bloodsport has some short fights, but they're memorable. Again, you got Bully Young breaking the guy's leg. You even had Jackson Donald Deeb hitting a guy, and the guy hits the ground, and there's blood on his nose. You have the scene where the guy sees that a gold tooth's been taken out, and he comes and he bites it, and then he cleans the blood off. And really, that's all the third act is. A miss with Roger Moore and them trying to steal that golden dragon. The Mongolian-looking guy breaks a buddy who Van Damme knew. Breaks the guy's back, kills him. I'm guessing. And even the final fight is lame as hell. It is one of those fights that Van Damme loses 90% of the time. He does 3 things. Van Damme just getting the shit kicked out of him. He gets thrown out of the ring. Van Damme goes, come on. They go outside. Van Damme gets beat up some more. Go through a building. They keep going. Van Damme gets thrown out. Van Damme does a 360 kick and a couple of punches. Bah, 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 and he wins. You want to see how that fight works better? Look at Lionheart. And Van Damme did those punches as well, but he used his kicks as if other people use jabs. Whirlwind kicks, or how you would call it, roundhouse kicks. Just with the music and the editing, Lionheart's end fight is so much better than this. It's such a lame, lackluster fight. One of Van Damme's lamest lackluster fights, especially in his prime years. I would say the lamest fight from his prime years of whenever Bloodsport was up to this point. This and his fight with Raul Julia, with at least Raul Julia, I could say Raul Julia was A, sick with cancer. Might have been stomach cancer. And B, wasn't a fighter. So I can understand. So I would put this as the lamest fight Van Damme has in his movies from Bloodsport to here. Afterwards, I can't think, but this is definitely the lamest. And the rest of the fights were lame. There's nothing memorable. Nothing to them. There's nothing you can remember. And when that's lame, what else do you have? The score? I can't remember the damn score. I remember the music in Bloodsport, Kickboxer, the ending of Lionheart, the music in Death Warrant, Universal Soldier, I remember. This, I can't remember the damn music. Oh, some nice production values. Okay, good, whatever. Doesn't make a good movie. The characters? The story? Oh, the story. It's Bloodsport, but it's in the 1920s. And it's rated PG-13. I'll watch Lionheart and Bloodsport and Kickboxer. I'd rather watch those. And Van Damme wins, and like I said, it ends with old Van Damme with that bad makeup. And I don't think it's his voice. If it is, I couldn't tell. He closes a book called The Quest, and the female reporter wrote, and she was useless other than that. And the movie ends. Yeah, I thought it was a lame movie. It was... I think it had the potential to be good, sure. Jean-Claude Van Damme, I was curious. I know there's another movie he directed called Eagle Path and then Full Love, and it still hasn't been released yet. I don't know if it'll ever be released. Because it was shown and it got bad reviews, then it was taken back to re-edit, and at one point it said it was coming out this year, but then there's no word on it. I don't know if that'll ever be released. But hey, I'm curious if Van Damme directing. Does Stallone directed? He directed some Rocky sequels. Rambo 4, I love Rambo 4. Rocky Balboa, I love that one. Okay, Stallone directed. I'd be curious. Sad to say, I like Steven Seagal's directed film on Deadly Ground better than this. I'd do without the fucking bear fighting. And without the weirdness of, you don't save the environment by blowing up an old oil tanker, which wouldn't that put all the oil in the ocean? But at least it had some good fights. It had the R-rated action. At least I thought the action on Deadly Ground worked. It was really the only thing that worked. If I want to do a Seagal marathon one day, and that'll be an interesting one to review. But at least the action worked on Deadly Ground. I will defend the action scenes. I think the action scenes are pretty good. And that vicious R-rated. I mean, he punches a guy whose head goes into a damn helicopter. And you saw enough, the blood splattering on. I'm like, ooh, shit. Or Seagal hitting a guy, turning around, and the knife going back into the guy's face. On Deadly Ground, at least had that. So I would say that has a mark over this. That's sad. Maybe Van Damme was trying to do too much. Maybe he was trying too hard. But the fight scenes are just not handled, not choreographed, not lit, not edited, bad usage of slow-mo, awkward moments. I'm like, that shouldn't be slow-mo. Yeah. The Quest, I think, is a terrible film. It's a bad movie. It's a forgettable movie. And I had to do this right away because I knew I would forget about it tomorrow. So The Quest, I think, is... I don't know how many bad films he's done, but it would... I don't know if I say it's his worst. I mean, Derailed is worse because it's just cheap jack horse shit. And I don't know. But The Quest is a bad movie. It's definitely one of his worst films in his prime. From Bloodsport to here, it's one of his worst films. This and Street Fighter are two of his worst films. But that's sort of what it is at the end of the day. Why watch The Quest when you can watch Bloodsport and Lionheart? Again, why? So, yeah, The Quest eats this and eats this. We'll see you later for another Van Damme movie review.